Harry and I are in the car, and he says, okay, well, my grandmother's there, so you're going to meet her. Oh, great. I loved my grandmother. I used to take care of my grandmother. This is great. He goes, right, do you know how to curtsy? What? Do you know how to curtsy?
And I just thought it was a joke.
I learned it very quickly, right in front of the house. We just practiced and then walked in. And
you and Harry practiced?
Yeah, and Fergie ran out, and she said, are you ready? Do you know how to curtsy? I said, oh my goodness, you got
Harry and Meghan, they have an issue when it comes to their memory and when it comes to
And I think she's just got so used to lying that maybe, in my opinion, she believes the lies she tells. I don't know, but either way, she's just been so consistently loose with the truth. This is just another example of it. And you make such a great point with the bowing and the curtsying. They teach you how to do it. And aside from anything else, it's actually not hard to curtsy. You put a foot behind, you bend and nod your head. Honestly, you'd have to be the most uncoordinated person in the world not to be able to do it.
Shut the f*** up.
She just always has a habit of twisting the story to meet whatever her current objective is, that it's like it's hard to take anything that she says at face value because it never seems to check.
Complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
If you could choose one thing for people to know the truth about you, what would that one thing be?
I just want people to know that I'm a real person.
Wants all of the privileges that go along with an identity, but she doesn't want any of the responsibility. She doesn't want to do any of the work. She wants the tiara. She doesn't want the public.
Live my life really authentically, make choices authentic.
She's just become a parody. I just find her so hilarious. Like, if you sat down to write the character of a woman who's thrown the royal family under the bus, accused them of racism, you've taken the title, but you don't want any of the responsibility, and you swan off to California and make rainbow fruit platters. I mean, she's just a joke.
I think we're getting absolutely nothing that's authentic out of it.
I wonder if you could rewrite your public narrative from scratch. Is there anything that you would do differently?
Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth.
Go back to the authenticity, right? It's what I love. I authentically, organically want to share, but also to be authentic. I wanted to do what felt authentic.
Because yes, Harry and Meghan, they told a complete lie about it because they want people to find their narrative to be, you know, how it is. It's constructed. They've made it out to be something that it really wasn't. But the truth is always the best.
You're goddamn
lovely. Thank you, so do you.
Before we get into it.
She's lied about her father, Thomas Markle. She's lied about her sister. She's lied about her mother. She's lied about her career. She's lied to Prince Harry about not knowing who members of the royal family are.
Kim Kardashian, with a smile on her face, is accusing the Sussexes of lying.
It's lie upon lie upon lie. But guess what? She ain't fooling anyone. She ain't fooling me, that's for sure.
Harry and Meghan's story has a recurring problem. The details keep shifting, especially when the topic turns to memory, tradition, and the rules of the institution they married into. The list of contradictions doesn't begin with one small slip. It begins with a pattern. Imagine having the biggest platforms on Earth, full preparation, and global attention, and still delivering dramatic emotional stories that unravel the moment anyone checks the basics. This video breaks down those moments point by point, starting with the claim that she did no research on Prince Harry before meeting him.
I don't know much about him, and so the only thing that I had asked her when she said she wanted to set us up was, I had one question. I said, well, is he nice? Because if he wasn't kind, it didn't seem like it would make sense.
The I didn't even Google him story is framed like a sweet accident, like she somehow wandered into royalty by pure chance. But the narrative collapses when you add context, longtime fascination, public admiration, and even photos that suggest this world wasn't unfamiliar at all. This wasn't randomness. It plays more like a carefully chosen origin story, delivered cleanly for the camera as the opening act. Then there's the pantyhose complaint, told with the intensity of a major hardship, when the actual issue is nude stockings. It's presented like something was taken from her, like she endured real restriction, when the rule being described is minor and cosmetic.
Is there an inherent tension in trying to be relatable while also being a duchess?
No, I don't find, I'm just being myself. So I think probably it was different several years ago where I couldn't be as vocal and I had to wear nude pantyhose all the time. Let's be honest, that was not very myself. I hadn't seen pantyhose since movies in the 80s when they came in a little egg. That felt a little bit inauthentic, but that's a silly example. But it is an example of when you're able to dress the way you want to dress and you're able to say the things that are true and you're able to show up in the space really organically and authentically. That's being comfortable in your own skin. And that's, of course, had different chapters in my life. But right now, no, I don't feel that I need to prove anything.
And here's where the story turns. Once there's money on the table, the trauma conveniently transforms into branding. The product stays the same, but the message changes because nothing exposes a manufactured grievance faster than watching it get repackaged and sold back to the audience. From there, the video moves to the claim that ignited headlines everywhere: the secret wedding that supposedly happened before the one the world watched. The secret wedding story is designed to feel intimate. 2 people, a garden, a quiet moment before the spectacle. But weddings aren't vibes. They're legal events with dates, documents, witnesses, and signatures.
People were saying, hang on a moment, how is that possible and how is that legal? Well, the Archbishop of Canterbury has addressed this for the first time because he has done an interview with the Italian newspaper La Repubblica. And he was asked about what happened, and he said the legal wedding took place on the Saturday in Windsor, Saturday, the 19th of May, 2018. The legal wedding was on Saturday. I signed the wedding certificate, which is a legal document, and I would have committed a serious criminal offence if I signed it knowing it was false.
And that's why this claim doesn't just sound unlikely. It runs straight into how church rules and marriage law actually work. The public wedding, historic venue, global broadcast, unmatched attention, still wasn't enough for the narrative being built. The secret version reframes the real event as the backup plan. You got the performance, she got the real moment. Except that private moment doesn't hold up. Then comes Photogate, a situation that should have been trivial. A party, a picture, a normal night out, turned into a full-blown crisis. The story presented to the public was simple. Photos were posted without consent, lines were crossed, privacy was violated. But the moment someone who was actually there calmly explains what happened, the dramatic version starts to wobble, because facts told plainly can be more damaging than any angry rebuttal.
Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party invitation. These two had been trying for so long. Well, I say these two, you know who, had been trying for so long to get into that mix. Kris Jenner decides to include a couple of horrendous pictures of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, one where he looks awkward as hell, clearly drunk. And as soon as they went up, of course, because they look so terrible in so many ways, Harry and Meghan aren't happy about it. And so they do a total reverse ferret and start demanding that Kris Jenner and the Kardashians remove all the pictures.
In the quieter version of events, it wasn't betrayal. It was panic management. An agreed-upon post becomes unauthorized after the consequences become obvious. Regret gets rewritten as principle, and a bad decision gets reframed as victimhood because we didn't think it through doesn't carry the same emotional payoff. Next is the who really cried moment. Delivered like a confession, carefully paced, emotionally weighted, and framed as cruelty. It's presented as a clear villain and victim story, designed to land as a life-changing betrayal, all centered around bridesmaid dresses days before the wedding.
Did you make Kate cry?
No.
Was there a situation where she might have cried or she could have cried?
No, the reverse happened. And I don't say that to be disparaging to anyone because it was a really hard week of the wedding and she was upset about something, but she owned it and she apologized.
But then the story flips, and the flip changes everything. Instead of a clean headline, the details become messy and human: stress, pressure, a tense week, and apologies afterward. That version is believable, but it doesn't trend. So the narrative gets simplified, context gets stripped out, and the emotional impact is maximized by reassigning the tiers. From there, the video moves to a different kind of tell, the One Young World speech. The event is meant to spotlight young leaders. but the focus shifts inward.
So overwhelmed by this experience, I think I even saved my little paper place card that said my name on it. Proof that I was there, and proof that I belonged. Because the truth was, I wasn't sure that I belonged. I was so nervous.
Circling back to Meghan's personal story so often that the room's purpose fades. The moment becomes notable not for what it uplifts, but for what it reveals. How quickly a platform for others can become a stage for one narrative. Then comes the passport claim, sold not as inconvenience, but as captivity. That the wording is engineered to trigger outrage. They took my passport, lands like a hostage story in designer clothing. It paints an image of isolation and control. Someone trapped behind palace walls with no agency over her own movement. But the contradiction is simple. The travel record doesn't match the confinement narrative. Trips, appearances, photos, publicly documented movement that doesn't align with the idea of being grounded and invisible.
I recall in that interview with Oprah that Meghan Markle basically said that she'd been trapped and had been invisible for 2 months and didn't go anywhere. And more importantly, one document which belonged to her, her personal passport, had been taken away.
So the viewer is left with only two options. Either the story is true and reality bent around it, or the story was never really about the passport at all. This is where the video pauses and presses the point. You don't misremember airports and international itineraries. You don't accidentally forget repeated travel. And you don't cross borders without documents. Once the impossible explanations are removed, the narrative that remains is blunt. She wasn't trapped. She was moving freely. And the missing piece wasn't paperwork, it was honesty. Next is the protocol abandonment claim. Framed like she was thrown into the role with no help, no guidance, no training. But that framing collapses if formal coaching existed at all. Because you can't sell "nobody prepared me," while someone's job was literally to prepare you. The key distinction the narration draws is this. Forgetting details is human, but erasing a real person who trained you isn't a memory glitch, it's a decision. In this framing, the story isn't "I had no support." It's "I had support, didn't engage with it, and later rewrote the history." That shift doesn't just change the event, it changes who carries responsibility. Then comes the social lockdown claim, presented like a prison sentence. No freedom, no friends, no normal life. Yeah, but the narration points to the mismatch between that story and what was repeatedly seen. Grocery runs, outings, everyday movement. And it adds a sharper insinuation. If the isolation was self-selected, then the captivity narrative becomes a performance built for sympathy. Now the tone darkens with the nursery fire story, told not like a recollection, but like a scene. The narration frames it as cinematic escalation, a baby in danger, a crisis behind palace doors, and an institution portrayed as so cold that even a near tragedy wouldn't stop the schedule. The narration pushes the emotional logic. A fire, no pause, no recovery, and the demand to perform anyway. An image meant to feel cruel and inhuman. It's packaged as the ultimate proof of institutional indifference, with maximum stakes and maximum outrage. And then the narration hits the missing footprint. No reports, no records, no corroboration, nothing that major emergencies usually leave behind. The conclusion it steers toward is escalation by necessity. When smaller grievances stop landing, the stories intensify, the details get darker, and the telling becomes more theatrical, because the narrative needs higher stakes to keep working. Next, security stripped away, framed as targeted betrayal. But the narration argues the policy is straightforward. Taxpayer-funded protection tracks with working royal duties. Leave the job, lose the benefit. In that framing, it's not punishment. It's the perks ending when the role ends. Then comes the most explosive claim, racism, delivered as if titles and protection were denied because of skin color. Kat, the narration's counterpoint is procedural. Rules determine titles, including a long-standing framework about who qualifies based on the monarch's position at the time. And when eligibility changes, the title follows automatically, suggesting the timeline was recast as prejudice, because prejudice is the version that stops the world. The silenced by the royals claim is framed as censorship, an institution muting her voice and controlling her narrative. The narration sets up the contradiction immediately. It's a bold allegation for someone portrayed as being highly visible, highly platformed, and repeatedly in the public eye. The narration defines what silence would actually look like. No access, no camera time, no editorial influence, no major media opportunities. And in that framing, the real conflict isn't being forbidden to speak. It's being unable to speak without pushback. The claim becomes less oppression and more consequences, repackaged into a victim narrative. Finally, the narration zooms out to the pattern. Dramatic claims delivered with confidence, followed by timelines, documents, policies, and quiet receipts that don't need theatrics to win. Because reality doesn't argue, it just verifies. The closing challenge is directed at the viewer. Which story collapsed hardest once you checked the calendar, the law, or the basic record? And did you spot the formula before the explanation finished?